Hello, everyone. Yes, it's me. I'm back. And today we're going to be thinking a little bit more about our story that I read to you yesterday, Somebody Swallowed Stanley, which I really enjoyed. I thought it was a really fantastic book. I enjoyed reading it to you. I hope you enjoyed listening to it. And I thought it was quite powerful and had quite a lot of things for us to think about in there. And also a big thank you if you've been sending me and your teacher work about the turtles version of events and how it felt for the turtle to be involved in this story, how it felt for the turtle to be trying to swallow Stanley, and what happened to her subsequently. Thank you very much for doing that. Now, we are going to think a little bit more about one of the big themes that came across in this story today, and that theme is pollution. Pollution. It's an interesting word, isn't it? Pollution. What does it actually mean? Well, what I'm going to ask you to do is have a quick chat with the person that's with you, your grown up or whoever's with you, and just discuss what actually is pollution. What does it mean? Will you do that now? Pause the video and come back to me. Yes, you're absolutely right. I'm glad you have been thinking about that. Pollution is what happens when an environment is contaminated or made dirty by waste or chemicals or things that are harmful that shouldn't really be there. And there are three main kinds of pollution: there's air pollution, land pollution, and water pollution. And I'd like us to think specifically today about water pollution, when harmful or dangerous things that shouldn't be there get into our water. And I'm just going to share my screen with you because in that story, one of the things the boy said, and it really struck me at the end of the story, he said, and I can, if you could see my little video of me, I'll show you the part. Right here, the boy said, as he was rescuing the turtle and putting her back, "Plastic bags don't belong in the ocean, Blue. Creatures think you're a jellyfish and swallow you." And that got me thinking, plastic bags don't belong in the ocean, Blue, at all, do they? That's actually a form of pollution. It's something that shouldn't be in that environment and could actually be quite harmful for the things that live in that environment. And so that got me thinking, how does that kind of pollution, how does plastic that shouldn't be in the ocean end up in the ocean? How does plastic even get in there? Why don't you pause the video again and have a little discussion with your grown up or whoever you're with? Maybe you can jot things down in a spider diagram a bit like this if you want to, or you could just chat about them. How does that plastic end up in the ocean? Pause the video and do that now, and then you can come back to me. Have you done that? Have you had a good chat about plastic pollution in our oceans? Good. Well, I put some things down here, and I'll share them with you now. You might have thought of these. You might have even thought of some that I hadn't thought of, how plastic gets in the ocean. So let's have a look. This one says, is it going to work? There we go. Not recycling. Lots of plastics can be recycled, but if you end up chucking your plastic away in with the normal rubbish, it ends up getting buried in the ground in what we call landfill. And then that plastic can leak out into the ground, and it can end up it can end up in the water supply. It can end up in rivers. It can end up traveling out into the ocean, or animals can eat it, and they can be eaten by other animals, and eventually that ends up in the ocean too. So chucking plastic away in the bins it shouldn't go in actually contributes to plastic ending up in our seas, in our oceans. So next time you're using a single use plastic, something that you're not going to use again afterwards, if you're going to throw it away, make sure it goes in the recycling bin, in the right bin. We have those around school, don't we? We have a bin for recycling, and we have a bin for things that can't be recycled. So we need to make sure we're putting things in the right bins. Industrial waste. You might not have heard of that term before. What that means is when things get made in factories, maybe, when things get put together or built or created, it creates a lot of waste. Sometimes smoke from burning things, or sometimes it's chemical products that leak out, and sometimes it's plastic waste. And some businesses are not very good at making sure they dispose of their waste properly. So instead of making sure it gets safely dealt with and stored or put in the right bins, some of these businesses don't have very good control measures. So what happens is that plastic waste and other dangerous waste ends up getting chucked out into the environment, into the rivers, which leads into the seas and things like that. So that's one of the big contributors to plastic ending up in our oceans. Naughty businesses not doing their jobs properly. What else? Maybe you might have thought of these. Let's have a look at this one. Putting things down the drain. Now, that doesn't just mean I'm picking up a bit of rubbish and I'm going to chuck it down the drain. It could mean things that, like flushing things down the toilet that aren't supposed to be flushed down the toilet, like cotton buds or cotton wool pads that sometimes people use for cleaning their faces, things like that, or wet wipes. Things like those aren't supposed to go down the toilet. The only thing that should go down the toilet is wee and poo and toilet paper. Anything else can get stuck in the drains, and it can also get sent out into the ocean. And then those things stay out there and can be very dangerous. And finally, you might have thought of more things. Littering, the obvious one. Chucking things on the ground, chucking things in the bushes, dropping things on the beach and leaving them there. These can contaminate and dirty the environments, and if they end up in the ocean, they can cause problems just like Stanley was causing. Not that he meant to, of course. It wasn't the plastic bag's fault he ended up in the ocean. It was the people that weren't putting it where it should be. So those are just some of my thoughts that I thought of about how plastic ends up in the ocean that shouldn't be there. I'm sure you might have got a few more and some of these as well. I've also included a link to a really, really good video here. It's called A Plastic Ocean, and there's a 3-minute kids version, which is perfect for you guys. And I've included the link here, but it's probably easier just for your grown-up to search for it on YouTube, and you can watch that. And I'll show you what it looks like so you don't get the wrong one. Let me just bear with me. I've closed the page down. That was a bit silly. Here's the right one. Right, let's have a look at that one. Here's what it looks like, the video. There it is, A Plastic Ocean, 3 minutes kids version. Now, I must say there are a couple of moments in this video that are a little bit sad. It does show some sea creatures that have got quite poorly as a result of plastic being in the ocean, and some who even have unfortunately died. So you might want to let your grown-up just watch that first, just to make sure that it's okay. But it's a really good video. It's recorded by children, for children, and it's got some really good information about how plastic ends up in the sea and things that we could do to help stop that from happening. It's a really good video. So there is some sad bits in there, but we need to recognise that actually, as a result of plastic being in the ocean, sad things do happen. So if you would like to watch that video, I suggest you pause me now and go away and watch that. But don't forget to come back to me after you've watched it, because I've got something for you to do. So if you're going to do that, pause the video now, and I'll see you in a second. I hope you've enjoyed watching the video if you chose to watch it, and I hope it helps you to think about some of the issues that we've been thinking about plastic in our oceans, about how it gets there, and about the things that we might do to be able to prevent that happening in the first place. Because that's what I'd like us to focus on next. So let me go back to what we were doing earlier. My technology skills today are lacking a bit. I keep making mistakes. Let's see if I can find it. Here we go. This is where we were earlier, and we were talking about how plastic might end up in the ocean. Now then, my next question, if you can see, hopefully my little video isn't in the way. What can we do to help reduce plastic pollution in our oceans? What can we do to stop it? What can we do to reduce the amount of plastic that ends up in our oceans? It's difficult to think about. If you watched that video earlier, it might have given you some ideas. Don't worry if you haven't, because I'm going to ask you again to pause the video, and this is an opportunity for you to do some research. Now, you might just choose to chat it through with your grown-up. You might choose to have a look together at some websites, do a bit of searching for ideas that can help reduce plastic pollution in our oceans. You can use Google or another search engine, of course, to try and find some ideas. You might even have some books or some things around the house to help with that. I know lots of you collect those National Geographic magazines. They might have some information on that in there. So what I'm going to ask you to do is go away, do a little bit of research, have a think about what can we do to help reduce plastic pollution in our oceans. When you thought of some ideas, things that you could do and other people could do, come back to me. We'll share our ideas, and then I'll let you know what I'm going to ask you to do next. Okay? So pause the video, do that now, but don't forget to come back. Okay. I'm hoping that now you've got lots of ideas in that head of yours about what we can do to reduce plastic pollution in our oceans and our seas. So let me show you some of the ideas that I came up with. You probably came up with a lot of these yourself. You might have come up with some different ones. You might not have come up with some of mine. So let's have a look. Number one, reduce your use of single-use plastics. Single-use plastic means plastic that you only use once and it doesn't get used again. So, for example, in this picture, I can see this bottle is a single-use plastic. It's not the kind of bottle that you would reuse over and over and over and over. Things like that. What else? Plastic straws are a good example. I put it there. Don't use plastic straws. You know, when you go to a milkshake shop or something like that, and they put a plastic straw in your drink, you don't have to have those. You can say no, thank you. And actually, if you've got your own straws, you can get wood straws, you can get metal straws, you can get paper straws, bamboo straws. I've got some bamboo straws. Really good. They can be reused, washed, and used again and again and again. They don't get chucked away, and they don't end up in the seas. Plastic sandwich bags, cling film, all these things can be replaced by other things that we can use to wrap our food in. I've got, some of you have seen it, you asked me about it. I wrap my sandwiches when I come to work. It's a bit of material, and it's been made and then covered in beeswax, which is a really good sort of antiseptic thing. And you can fold up your sandwiches in there, and you can wash it and you can reuse it, and don't have to use cling film ever again. So it's cutting out things like that and thinking of other things you can use. And I've put here as well, recycle and reuse. Put your plastic in the recycling bin. Make sure it goes in the right bin. If it can be reused, then do reuse it. You can get those plastic bags at the shops that are much stronger, and you can use again and again and again and again, can't you? Most of the other plastic bags they've got rid of now because they're not very good for our environment and our seas. I put some other ideas down here that you might have had. Beach cleans. You can go down and join with beach cleans down on the beach. Pick a certain beach, pick up all the rubbish, put it in a bag and make sure it ends up in the bin. Tidy up what other people have left behind. Those are good things to do to help our oceans and our seas so the tide doesn't come in and collect the plastic and wash it out to sea. Joining in an organisation. There's lots out there. Greenpeace, Friends of the Earth, many, many others that you can join, you can donate to, you can advertise, and they do lots of good work for our oceans and our seas, trying to make sure that we reduce our plastic pollution. Buying things secondhand where we can. There's lots of places where we can get things that other people have used that they don't need anymore, that are still in perfect good condition. We don't always need to buy everything brand new. We can get secondhand things. It's cheaper as well. Contact your MP or councillor. That's a bit of a thing for grown-ups, but grown-ups need to do their bits too. Some of our MPs, the people that are supposed to be in charge of our local areas, they got other priorities, and sometimes they're not that great at doing the things that matter. If we contact them, if we badger them, if we annoy them with enough letters and tell them what are they going to do to help reduce plastic pollution, they might write back to you. In fact, if you write to an MP, they are legally obliged to write back to you, so they can tell you what things they are going to be doing to protect our environment and our seas. So make sure we badger those people, make sure they do their jobs properly. And very importantly, tell your friends, tell your family, tell other people. Lots of people don't know or don't realise about plastic pollution. By telling them and informing them about these things, more will get done, more people will get on board, more people will join in. And also, can I squeeze it in at the bottom there? Yes. Ask shops and supermarkets not to use plastic packaging. Or you can buy things that aren't wrapped in plastic. So you can write, or your grown-ups can write to shops and say, why are you wrapping these things in plastic that don't need to be? Or when you go shopping, if there's carrots in a bag, Do you need to buy carrots in a bag? You could always buy them separately. There's lots of things that we can think of that everyone can do their bit to help reduce our plastic pollution in our oceans. So here is our final job of the day. I would like you to, using what we've learned today and using what we've talked about, can you design a poster or a leaflet that is going to help explain to people what they can do to help reduce plastic pollution in our oceans? What steps can they take? What things can they do in order to stop and reduce the amount of plastic that goes in our oceans? We just talked about lots of the ideas there. So, can you design? Can you draw pictures? Can you write on there big tips and ideas that people could do and people should do in order to help with the plastic pollution emergency that's going on in our seas and our oceans? Now, let me just show you some examples of some I saw on the internet just to give you an idea. Tum-ti-tum. Here we go. Let's have a look at this one. Oh, look, see, here's a little, can you see that one here? If I scroll this one up and down a bit, you can see they've drawn some pictures. Reuse water bottles, use glass or stainless straws, things like that. There's other posters here. Here's ones about the problems in our oceans and things that are causing problems for the sea creatures and others. Here's some ideas on this one. Look, it's trying to show us some pictures here. Pictures of people making sure they're putting the right things in the bin. They're reusing reusable water bottles. They're making sure they're not flushing things down the toilet that shouldn't go down the toilet. This is a nice one. I like this. Very easy to understand and easy to follow. Here's an idea. Look, one that's started. They haven't finished it yet. There's things missing from the bottle. Simple idea. Draw a little picture. Write something about it. Explain what it means. So perhaps you could create a poster, something colourful. You don't even have to do it on paper. You could do it on a computer, on a purple mash, however you want to create it. A poster to give people ideas how they can contribute to stopping plastic pollution in our oceans. That's my challenge for you. I think this is one of the most important challenges that we've done so far because this is going to teach a lot of people and it's going to help our world. And you could even put your poster up in your windows, in your cars, things like that. So people will remember when they see that, oh, those are good tips and ideas. So I hope you enjoy doing that. And yes, I do want to see them. And so will your teachers too. So please, please, please do send them along on Dojo or via email so that we can have a look at those. Because I think this is a great thing that we can do for our world. I hope you have fun with that. I hope you've enjoyed thinking about our seas and oceans today. Have great fun and I'll see you soon. Bye, guys.